Kenneth Copeland, better known as Lil Woody or YSL Woody, was born in 1991 in Atlanta as the 7th child of a huge family of 10 kids. Woody would spend some of his early formative years in the infamous Bowen Homes projects in the Bankhead neighborhood on the west side of Atlanta, aka Zone 1. These projects also producing such key Atlanta rap figures as Shorty Low.
It's your boy Shout Lo, and I'm finna take you out through, you know what I'm saying, where I'm from, where I was born and raised, the project. It's called Bowen's Homes. We're pulling up on it right now, so we're finna give it a turn in, let you see it. You know what I'm saying? Born Home, like it's like Born Home. It's an artist itself. This is the apartment when I was born and raised. See right here, I'm gonna pull up in and let you see it. It was my home. My grandma died right here. I seen it towed out of there.
Bowen Homes would receive particular fame in 2008 when it became a battleground between Shorty Low and another Zone 1 rapper T.I., as Shorty Low would question if T.I. is even really from Bankhead, even going around the projects asking people if they'd ever seen him.
Yeah, okay, this is an interview for YouTube right now, cause I know they might be on YouTube. Look, if anybody know T.I., cause I know everybody at school or high school didn't like him, so I got a reward, man. If y'all send me the yearbook pictures or something that's showing where he from, man, I will pay y'all personally, man, you know what I'm saying? I got a check for you. Any information on where T.I. went to school, at the yearbook, or where he grew up at, man, you know what I'm saying? We trying to find out, man, where he from, man. Have you seen him? This L.O. I'm Mr. Bankhead. We want to know, man, how y'all seen T.I.? Is he from Bankhead?
Man, we ain't seen him no when he bricks, man. The real, man.
He claims, we know the man claims, I'm coming from one hood to the other hood.
Man, we already know who you be, Shawty Low, baby, man. Why you say you pull up in that Bankhead, they already know.
Man.
They already know who you be, man.
But T.I. was not about to let the disrespect slide, and later that year he would come out with possibly one of the hardest diss tracks in Atlanta history, the infamous What Up, What's Happening, which would be released with a music video showing T.I. hanging out in the Bowen Homes like he owned the place. Woody, on the other hand, would move out of Bankhead long before this iconic beef due to his father unfortunately passing away in the early 2000s when Woody was just about 10 years old, causing his mother to move the family back to their original stomping grounds in the Mechanicsville neighborhood near downtown Atlanta, where they would rely on government assistance and his mother's hustle to get by, their home allegedly doubling as a trap house.
Well, we were surviving out the government. We got checked from, our daddy passing, food stamps, just like every other kid in the neighborhood. And, my mom was a hustler.
Okay. I think you mentioned on No Jumper that it was a trap house at one point?
I did.
Yeah. So was it?
Not like a trap house, like you know how you get a trap house? But I guess so, to a certain extent.
Traumatic events would seemingly characterize Woody's childhood, as he would reveal to DJ Vlad how he had also suffered a serious brain injury around this time that left him with lasting disabilities.
I had a head injury, so I really wasn't aware as much as a 10-year-old would be aware.
What do you mean by head injury?
When I was a kid, I rode a big wheel down the steps and crashed my head right here.
Okay.
I lost my memory, my speech, my hearing.
The injury forced him into special ed classes, even learning sign language in case he would go completely deaf.
So they tried to prepare me like if I was to go completely deaf, I know sign language. But that's what I was thinking.
Okay. Do you know sign language?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Some years later in 2008, tragedy would strike again when Woody's mother passed away, leaving Woody without any parental guidance at only 17 years old, which would cause him to separate from his family, getting kicked out of school and hitting the streets full time.
2008, I lost my mom. When I lost my mom, I was just like, well, this is the only person that care about me. This is what my life was based off my mama. She the only one had that control over me. So when she died, I removed myself from the rest of my family and just took to the streets.
Already the following year in 2009, a 17-year-old Woody had his first serious run-in with the law as he was arrested and charged for carrying a concealed weapon, a charge that he apparently took for his friend.
So why were you carrying a gun during this time?
I actually wasn't carrying. It's old, so somebody else had it. I took it from him because I seen the police going after him. But somebody else was watching me and seeing me take it from him.
Oh, so you're trying to help your friend out, basically?
I helped somebody out.
Right, and in turn, you got a gun charge.
Yeah,
Over the next few years, Woody's life would spiral further as he would keep going to jail numerous times for various charges, like theft, carrying a weapon, battery, obstruction, aggravated assault, participation in a criminal street gang, and even making terroristic threats. This likely being around the time when Woody was allegedly running with the DRC clique, aka the Robin Crew. But in 2013, Woody would truly get pushed over the edge due to the death of his best friend DB, who was killed in a drive-by.
After he got killed, you said, I had to go terrorize. What does that mean?
exactly what it sounded like it meant.
Driven by grief and anger, from here, Woody would develop a fearsome reputation in the streets of Atlanta, and it was this reputation that also seemingly caught the attention of none other than Young Thug, who would end up inviting Woody to become part of his entourage.
And how'd you guys initially meet?
He just called me out of the blue. I knew him, I knew of him, you feel me? Everybody from Atlanta knew of him as he was coming up. And I've been around him a few times, shot dice with him, but he just called me out of the blue one day, be like, hey, come see me. You wanna go on shows with me? And we went from there.
Interestingly, in his No Jumper interview, Woody would even seem to insinuate that him meeting Thug had something to do with the infamous incident of Rich Homie Quan's father's barbershop getting shot at.
That barbershop don't have nothing to do with nothing. You feel what I'm saying? That barbershop just on some bankheads type stuff.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I grew up in Bourne Home, so.
So he didn't have a reason to go out and just go on stage and say that. He was just really just choosing sides.
So when the barbershop happened, Thug and Rich Homie was cool.
Alright.
To be honest, that's how me and Thug got together.
Yeah, so how did you meet Thug?
I guess you didn't just hear me.
Through Rich Homie? Break it down again.
It's still an open case.
Alright, for sure.
But not everyone around Thug would welcome Woody with open arms, as YSL Mondo would tell DJ Vlad after he saw that Thug was beginning to associate with guys like Woody who hadn't been there from the start, he decided to fall back, perhaps predicting some of the problems that street guys like Woody would be bringing around.
Now, you said you never really hung around Lil Woody, but
Never.
there was a time where you saw him in the studio with the Young Thug.
Yeah, I seen him one time,
Yeah.
and I never went back around ever since then. Like
So
literally.
you never went around Young Thug because of Woody?
Well, okay. Every time that I knew when I seen he was hanging with these type of group of guys, I'm like, cause it was weird to me. We don't like, where did these guys come from? They weren't around back then. Like they just popped up now that you got. So I don't operate like that. Like I look at it like, damn, bro, what was when we didn't have none? Now y'all want to jump on a bandwagon when we in rotation. Now we got money now. Y'all want to come around. So that type I don't be with. I can't tell him who to hang with. So I just fell back. Like every time I know brother around or them the extra around, I don't want to be around. I'm cool.
However, as Woody would recollect with Brian Steele during the trial, his time in Thug's entourage only lasted about a year between 2014 and 2015, during which time Woody became sort of like an enforcer for Young Thug, something that even earned him a mention in the hit song Halftime, where Thug raps that if anybody messes with him, Woody will come and shoot them in the head.
Going back to 2014, going into 2015, you met Jeffrey Williams for a short period of time that you were, my word would be hanging out with him, but that's a bad word, that you were in his company and he was in your company, a short period of time. Is that fair to say?
Right.
And when you met him, you already said that he was very popular.
Yes.
True. Is it fair to say that you and he knew each other, but like after your birthday in July of 2014 and really stopped because you were in custody anyway, by July 2015? That's the period of time that you knew each other? Is that true?
No, I didn't. From 2014, I met him like at the end of 2014.
And then you already told the jury, but you got locked up a lot. The police kept locking you up in January, February, March, April, May, and then June, you were locked up in federal custody for 51 months. True?
Yes.
Okay. And that's really the only period that you knew Jeffrey. It's the only time that you were around him or he was around you. True?
Well, really, we wasn't even together every day. I was out in the neighborhood.
Jeffrey never had the pleasure of having you featured in one of his songs. Is that true?
No, I ain't never been in his song.
Okay. And Jeffrey never was featured in one of your songs. Is that true?
No, me and him don't have music together.
All right. But he did put you in one song of his. You know the song Halftime?
I'm listening.
Do you remember the line, and I'm not saying this a quote, but something effective, if you mess with me, Woody will come up and pop in the noggin. And if that's not a quote, I'm not trying to misquote it, but that's what is that something like what it says in that song?
Yeah.
And the song is Halftime, right?
Yes.
Wildly popular song.
Yes.
However, as Woody will claim, he was anything but happy about this shout-out, because while the song had allegedly been made in 2014, when everything was still good between them, it was only released in April 2015, during a time when Woody was in a tricky spot in the streets. He found himself at the center of a violent feud between YSL and the Atlanta branch of the Inglewood family's blood gang. As mentioned before, this feud allegedly began in late 2014 and saw Woody's personal conflict with Big Nut's brother Shell Kel, aka Kelvin Watts, playing a big role in the back and forth violent encounters that would ensue. Not long after, the Inglewood family's second in command and the man behind the careers of Rich Homie Quan and YFN Lucci, Donovan Big Nut Thomas, would be killed in a brutal drive-by shooting. And while no one knew for sure who killed Nut, suspicion immediately fell on YSL, particularly Woody, whose girlfriend's parents' house would be shot up already the same night that Nut was murdered. These events led Woody to make perhaps the most consequential decision of his life, as at this point he began cooperating with police. There would initially be a murder charge against Woody himself, but these would eventually be dismissed. However, Woody would still remain on the Atlanta PD's radar, and already the following month in February, he would once again find himself in their custody, eventually getting released in mid-March. This helps to explain why Woody wasn't exactly thrilled when he would hear that Thug was labeling him as a shooter in his newest songs.
You learned that the police was using that song. They asked you about that song.
No, they told me.
Yeah.
One of them told me that I think I had got out, I got out one of the jails and they got me the next day. And they were like, yeah, man, now you at the top of our radar. It was something like, and he pissed me off when he said it.
He being the detective?
No, it wasn't no detective, it was the police.
Okay. The police officer upset you when they said
I think it was Dennis that said it. It was one of them that said it to me.
A month later, in April 2015, at the height of the alleged war between YSL and the Inglewood families, which had allegedly led to dozens of shootings and several murders, Woody would walk into Dunbar Center Gymnasium with a loaded Diamondback 223 assault rifle tucked inside a H&M shopping bag, which he would then leave on the bleachers while he played basketball, prompting a concerned citizen to call the police, who would then arrive, finding the rifle in the bag, and later arresting Woody, who would eventually be hit with federal charges, landing him in prison for several years. The police would also find out that the rifle had actually been purchased by Quindarius Zachary, also known as YSL member Lil D, who would later end up being one of the many state's witnesses in the YSL RICO trial. Woody would eventually be released in late 2019, and at the beginning of 2020, he would attempt to follow in the footsteps of Young Thug, beginning to drop his own music, starting with a song aptly called First Day Out. And despite being a snitch behind the scenes, the song still included self-incriminating lyrics where he rapped that he would have people killed and that YSL run Atlanta. In March, Woody would even release a full mixtape, humbly titled I Am the Streets, showing that Woody was leaning heavily on his reputation as a certified gangster. One of his music videos even started with a hilarious intro where Woody can be seen in a helicopter looking over Atlanta like he's goddamn Tony Montana. He was also still seemingly close with other YSL members, as Yak Gotti would actually perform at the mixtape's listening party. And in the few interviews that he would do as an up-and-coming artist, he would proudly rep the gang any chance that he got.
No man, it's your boy Rich and Face TV, man. We back in the building, we back working, we back grinding. I had to pull up on my boy Lil Woody, man. Pop up.
Sam, man. YSL everything. Man, yeah, man, Lil Woody YSL for like 30 deep. Freehand entertainment, man. Shout out to the progress report. Yeah, they Lil Woody freehand entertainment. Just jumped out of the pool with Dirty Glove Best. Slap YSL for life.
But Woody simply couldn't stay out of trouble, and soon he would find himself back in jail once again, this time staying locked up until 2021, and when he was released, he would stay out for only a few months before he was arrested again during a traffic stop after he was supposedly swerving. And while Woody technically only had a loaded magazine on him, it was enough to charge him with another weapons offense, potentially landing him up to 10 years in prison. This arrest would lead to another interrogation, one that would later leak to the public during the YSL trial in 2023. During the questioning, it would immediately become clear that this wasn't Woody's first rodeo in the interrogation room by the way that the officers were treating him. Woody spoke to law enforcement, including investigators from the DA's office that were part of the gang unit and agents from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, making it clear that multiple agencies were closely monitoring him and YSL. The police would read Woody his charges.
Unfortunately, there's a gun in the car.
A gun with her?
In your car. I did a search warrant for the vehicle, there's a gun in the car, and you had a magazine on you when they picked you up. Federally, they can charge you with the ammunition. Statewide, you're probably going to get charged with the gun.
I'm going to get charged with the gun? There was no gun in
there was a gun in the car.
They would also make it clear that they couldn't promise him anything in exchange for his cooperation.
So if you want to talk to us today, we cannot promise you anything. I can't make you any promises. Listen to me, I can't make you any promises. I can't offer you anything today. That's not what we can do.
What we can do is, if you do cooperate, we could talk to the DA and let them know you did cooperate. And that's the most, she can make that decision at that standpoint of what's going on.
But despite the lack of guarantees, Woody seemed willing to say whatever it took to save himself.
The information I had, they want to hear it right now.
I mean, we can pass it to them.
I'm saying you can pass it to them. I'm thinking something gonna happen today.
What's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen?
Somebody's supposed to get killed tonight.
Who?
You know who.
He offered detectives information on a murder plot that coincidentally occurred the same day as his arrest.
I can tell y'all this much right here. I know the people are gonna go do it. I can get the time when they gonna go do it. So y'all can get them in the air.
He also painted a picture of a relentless and bloodthirsty young thug who was allegedly targeting Nutt's brother, Kel.
So I've been put in bad situations. Trying to help people out, trying to stop me. They're not gonna stop. He's not gonna stop till Kel did. I'm telling you, I was just right there with him and I seen him like, I know him. He won him. He don't care who he is. He don't care. I'm telling you that.
At one point, he even tried to play detective himself, suggesting a sting operation while emphasizing how reckless Thug had become at this point.
What time it is?
7:04.
If I could be released before 11 to 12 o'clock, show you how serious I am. If I could be released, let the people see me and Mike coming out of jail together. Just hit the jail for whatever. Y'all can be right there to see me meet up with him and discuss it. However y'all want to take it by then, y'all see where Cuddy ran in, y'all can catch him in the act.
What do you mean?
So he not moving how he used to move. He moved different, but he wanted so bad that he's that reckless.
Woody's troubles wouldn't end here, because the following month in November, his girlfriend, a police officer, was arrested for interfering with an investigation into Woody's activities.
The former City of South Fulton police officer accused of abusing her badge to protect her boyfriend. Investigators say 27-year-old Aaliyah Jackson, who joined the city's police force in 2019, was booked into jail last month on felony charges after she tried to interfere with a major police operation targeting Metro Atlanta's most notorious drug dealers and gang members. Following his arrest, police say that Jackson tried to delete her boyfriend's Instagram page containing photos of gang activity. She's also accused of trying to disable his phone, which police were storing as evidence.
However, by 2022, the state's gun charges relating to Woody's 2021 arrest were mysteriously dropped, just a month before the YSL members would be arrested in the giant RICO case. This move might have highlighted how heavily the prosecution were relying on the testimony of Woody, who was now expected to provide critical insights into YSL's structure, naming names and detailing specific violent acts that were linked to Young Thug. However, this was soon after followed by a leaked paperwork, which would paint Woody as the main snitch on the case. This was then followed by the leak of the 2021 interrogation video, which would show Woody snitching in 4K. Perhaps due to these leaks, on June 7th, 2024, when it finally came time for Woody to be called to the stand, even with immunity, he would refuse to testify.
But before the jurors were called in, Copeland's attorney says his client planned to invoke his Fifth Amendment right to avoid self-incrimination.
What he has told me is that he repeatedly told the DA's office that he did not wish to cooperate, did not wish to testify.
The judge told Copeland there's an order granting him immunity, which prevents his testimony from being used against him, which means...
So you're required to testify. So, if you don't testify, the state's probably going to ask me to jail you, and I'm probably going to do that.
At this point, Woody was held in contempt, and he ended up being sent back to the Fulton County Jail.
But when the state asked exactly how old he was...
I plead the fifth. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get you a step outside?
That's when the judge ordered Copeland to be handcuffed.
This court holds you in willful contempt, and we'll see you on Monday.
The following Monday, the judge would meet with the prosecution and Woody, together with his legal representation, before that day's proceedings, in a secret ex parte meeting that the defense team was apparently not made aware of. This meeting would arguably walk a thin line between simply informing Woody about the consequences of his actions on the witness stand and actually threatening Woody with consequences in order to force him to testify. Whatever the case, in the end, Woody would agree to testify. However, once back on the witness stand, he would immediately begin trolling the prosecution, giving them a taste of what was about to take place.
Do you see Shannon in the courtroom today?
Well, I got a vision problem.
Okay.
I can't see that far.
All right, so if you want to stand up and look around the courtroom and look around the entire courtroom, tell me if you see Shannon in the courtroom today. Do you need to sit down?
Nah, I can right here. They ain't had nothing to drink.
The next day, on June the 11th, Woody would continue his antics by firing his lawyer.
Sir, Mr. Copeland, is it your desire to release your counsel at this point in time?
She's fired.
She's fired? Okay.
What I need a lawyer for?
From here on, Woody would go on to be a terrible witness for the state, commonly delaying proceedings, misinterpreting questions and instructions, and frustrating prosecutors throughout the trial.
I guess.
And when it came to Woody's many interviews with the police throughout the years, he would negatively affect the prosecution's case by claiming that he had been lying to the authorities in interviews that had dated all the way back to 2015.
Okay, let me make myself clear, right? Because you keep asking me about things I don't told investigators in the past. I can't say from when to when, but so much was going on, my name was on everything. The police kept coming to grab me. Every time they grabbed me, I had a different story for them. I know 100% facts, and I'm telling you now, I was not truthful. I was saying whatever they wanted me to say. I was saying whatever I could come up with. I was trying my best to convince them that I didn't do nothing, that I'm an innocent person, and that people put their hands on me.
But Woody's story wasn't just playing out in the courtroom, because when court wasn't in session, Woody would be spotted on Instagram living his best life. Woody's testimony would eventually come to a screeching halt when the defense were able to successfully use that ex parte meeting to recuse the judge from the case, a major development that we'll discuss in more detail later. But with a new judge in place, the trial eventually resumed in August. And to everyone's delight except the prosecution, the newly appointed judge would request that Woody re-testify, with Woody this time even getting Young Thug to laugh along with his antics.
Yes, no, I don't recall. Did Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing members of If Gang to his apartment?
Thug, did you have an issue with Rich Homie?
I'm asking you for what you told the police.
And I'm answering you. I just told you several times. I tell the police anything.
Okay. Do you recall talking about the shooting?
After the state concluded their questioning of Woody, more revelations about the extent of his alleged lies would emerge during cross-examination.
There you're saying that you gave the card to Javante, who gave it to Lil Mike and Quez, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you would agree that detectives Gaither and Dennis are telling you we've never even heard of Lil Mike and Quez, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland, Lil Mike is not a real person, is he?
No.
Brian Steele, Young Thug's lawyer, would question Woody about a jail call where he told another party that prosecutors had begged him to testify, while Woody also claimed to have never committed any crimes for Thug.
Did Jeffrey ever give you any money, ever, for committing a crime for him?
I never committed a crime for him.
That was my next question. Okay.
After finally being done testifying, Woody would then begin showing support for Young Thug publicly, and he would even start his own YouTube channel where he would post a highly emotional interview apologizing to Thug and everyone else for the pain that he caused.
But if you could walk in that courtroom and say one thing to Thug right now, what would that be?
I'm sorry.
What you sorry for?
The pain, the suffering, everything I caused on him and his family, society, the courts. I'm sorry for everything. I wish I had the strength and the mindset I have now. I'm just. I never forgive myself.
And the publicity from the trial began making Woody a celebrity on social media. In August 2024, he would also resurrect his music career with an incredibly titled song, I Don't Recall, which referenced his repeated use of the phrase during the testimony. He was also invited to numerous paid interviews and hood vlogs, as well as participating in several speed dating shows that garnered millions of views on YouTube, inflating his ego and his bank account. He even linked up with one of hip-hop's perhaps notorious and proud snitches, Charleston White, to collect a nice bag, something that he would often flaunt on social media. And despite his new reputation as a snitch, Woody would continue moving through the streets of Atlanta without a care in the world, seemingly trusting that his former reputation as a fearless shooter would still protect him, even though he was now a snitch.
How do you feel about people calling you, labeling you a snitch?
It's on the internet. I haven't ran to one person that said it to my face. And I ain't saying like on no gangster stuff. Like I pray that nobody don't provoke me. You feel what I'm saying? Cause I ain't mess with nobody. I ain't looking for trouble. So if I'm out and somebody walk up and say I'm a snitch or whatever, I'm slap. I'm a bust from one or the other.
But in a twist that perhaps nobody could have seen coming, the trial not only pushed Woody into the spotlight as a state's witness, but also made him a celebrity. Woody's emotional breakdowns, combative exchanges, and sarcastic responses, as well as frequent lapses in memory, combined with his reluctance to cooperate despite being granted immunity, made him both highly entertaining and garnered widespread sympathy towards him from fans. But these antics also made him one of the worst star witnesses that the prosecution could have ever imagined, and his performance alone made their case infinitely weaker. But as mentioned, there was also another person in the trial whose missteps would arguably play an even bigger role in letting Young Thug eventually walk free. That person was Judge Glanville.